So in this session of blood supply of central nervous system, we will be discussing about the internal carotid artery, course and branches. Now the internal carotid artery is one of the terminal branches of the common carotid artery in the neck at the level of C4 vertebra. It has four parts, the cervical part, the petrous part, cavernous part and cerebral part. Now the cervical part or the first part lies within the carotid sheath. It extends from the level of C4 vertebra to carotid canal opening at the base of the skull. Now it passes the petrous part. From there it enters into the carotid canal that is present in the petrous part of the temporal lobe, temporal bone, and this carotid canal is not a through and through canal, so it enters into the upper half of the foramen lacerum. From the lacerum it passes it enters into the cavernous sinus, so that forms the cavernous part. So petrous part, the part which is lying in the carotid canal and the foramen lacerum, through the upper part of the foramen lacerum it enters into the middle cranial fossa. Here it lies in relation with the cavernous sinus. It passes through the floor and the medial, along the floor and the medial wall of the cavernous sinus. At the anterior end of the cavernous sinus it passes upwards and comes out medial to the anterior clinoid process, and from there it passes backwards and upwards again, and then it divides into its terminal branches. So that is the cerebral part of the internal carotid artery. So it has four parts: cervical part, petrous part, cavernous part and cerebral part. So as I said, the internal carotid artery is one of the terminal branch of the common carotid artery. At the level of C4 vertebra it originates from the common carotid artery, divides at the level of C4 vertebra. It has four parts: cervical part. This part lies in the carotid sheath. It ascends straight and then it enters into the carotid canal that forms the petrous part. Carotid canal, this is the carotid canal, and then it enters into the upper part of the foramen lacerum. Through the foramen lacerum it enters into the middle cranial fossa. Now the third part is the cavernous part, lies in the cavernous sinus, within the sinus, between the periosteal and meningeal layer of the dural sheath. It passes along the floor and the medial wall, and at the anterior end of the cavernous sinus it passes upwards and emerges out from it pierces the meningeal layer, and then it pierces the arachnoid matter, enters into the subarachnoid space. This coming out lies medial to the anterior clinoid process. Now the cerebral part, as I said, the cerebral part lies lateral to the optic chiasma, and there it divides into its terminal branches, that is the anterior cerebral artery and the middle cerebral artery. Now the branches of internal carotid artery, the cervical part doesn't have any branches. The petrous part has two branches: the caroticotympanic branch that may be more than one in number. It enters into the tympanic cavity. The other one is the artery to the pterygoid canal. That is about the second part. Now the third part, we have a branch to the trigeminal ganglion, which lies closer to the foramen lacerum, so it gives a branch to the trigeminal ganglion. There are superior and inferior hypophyseal arteries which supply the hypophysis cerebrae. There are meningeal branches which supply the meninges in the middle cranial fossa. Now the fourth part is the cerebral part. The first branch is the ophthalmic artery. The ophthalmic artery enters the orbit through the optic canal, and then it gives out a few branches. The branches are lacrimal artery, long and short posterior ciliary branches, supratrochlear, supraorbital, central artery of retina, and dorsal nasal artery. Now the central artery of retina runs within the optic nerve and reaches the retina at the center of the optic disc. Now the dorsal nasal branch anastomoses with the facial artery, so it forms a communication between the internal and external carotid arteries. Now the other branches are posterior communicating artery. Posterior communicating artery passes posteromedially and joins with the proximal part of the posterior cerebral artery, is a branch of the basilar artery. There is anterior choroidal artery. This anterior choroidal artery this anterior choroidal artery passes backwards along the optic tract and enters the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle through the choroid fissure. It is a long and slender branch, so it is more prone for thrombosis. This anterior choroid artery is a slender branch. The lumen is narrow, so it is more prone for thrombosis. Now the terminal branches are middle cerebral artery and anterior cerebral artery, that we will discuss in detail. Now this is a circle of Willis. Here the internal carotid artery, the branches of internal carotid artery, the cerebral part of the internal carotid artery, the posterior communicating artery which passes posteromedially and joins with the posterior cerebral artery. Now this is the anterior choroidal artery. It passes backwards along the lateral aspect of the optic tract and it enters into the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle through the choroid fissure. So it provides choroid plexus there. Now the other branches are anterior cerebral artery, middle cerebral artery. Now this anterior cerebral artery passes anteromedially towards the median longitudinal fissure of the cerebrum, where it joins with the same branch of the internal carotid artery from the other side through anterior communicating artery. Now this artery, after reaching the medial longitudinal fissure, it enters over the medial surface and it continues posteriorly along the convexity of the corpus callosum. Now the branches, as we discussed, the first part there are no branches. Second part there is superior and inferior carotico-tympanic artery which enter the tympanic cavity. Third part is the cavernous part which provides branches to trigeminal ganglion, meningeal branches to middle cranial fossa, superior and inferior hypophyseal arteries. The fourth part, ophthalmic artery, which enters the orbit through the optic canal. The branches are lacrimal artery, short and long posterior ciliary branches. There is central artery of retina, dorsal nasal artery, supratrochlear and supraorbital. The dorsal nasal branch communicates with the anastomoses with the facial artery. So it forms a communicating channel between the internal and external carotid arteries. Central artery of retina enters the passes within the optic nerve and it supplies the central and reaches the central part of the optic disc. Now the posterior communicating artery, as we have seen, it passes backwards and medially joins with the proximal part of the posterior cerebral artery. Anterior choroid artery, that is after the origin of the posterior communicating artery. It passes backward along the optic tract and enter the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle through choroid fissure. This artery, since it is a long and slender branch, it is more prone for thrombosis, and this artery supply uncus, hippocampus, the caudate nucleus, globus pallidus, amygdala, optic tract, and the internal capsule, part of the internal capsule. Now, when this artery is thrombosed, it causes, since it supply the optic tract, it can cause hemianopia. Since it is supplying the inferior internal capsule, it can cause hemiparesis and hemianesthesia because of the motor and sensory involvement of motor and sensory fibers. Now the terminal branches, anterior cerebral artery. Anterior cerebral artery, after it originates from the internal carotid artery, it passes towards medially and anteriorly towards the median longitudinal fissure, and after reaching the medial surface, medial side of the cerebrum, it continue along the convexity of the corpus callosum. Now this branch over the medial surface, this is the anterior cerebral artery. Over the medial surface, it gives out cortical branches as well as central branches. Now the cortical branches over the medial side are orbital branches, frontopolar branches, frontal branches, then pericallosal branch along the convexity of the corpus callosum, then callosomarginal branch along the cingulate sulci, and in the posterior aspect it gives out parietal branches. So these are the cortical branches of the anterior cerebral artery. Now the central branches, it has central branches, that is the anteromedial group, which that I will show you in this diagram. This is the, from here the anteromedial branches comes, as well as from the anterior communicating artery. So anteromedial branches, the central branches comes from anterior cerebral artery as well as anterior communicating artery. Now this anteromedial group supply the part of the rostrum, part of the corpus callosum, septum pellucidum, corpus striatum, that is globus, that is putamen and caudate nucleus, anterior limb of the internal capsule. One of the branch in this is called recurrent branch or artery of Hübner. It penetrates the anterior perforated substance, it comes back, returns, and that is why it is called recurrent branch. And then it penetrate the anterior perforated substance. This branch supply the head of the caudate nucleus, anterior limb, genu of internal capsule. In case this artery gets thrombosed, it causes contralateral paralysis of lower limb, tongue and face. Lower limb, tongue and face. The cortical branches we have already mentioned, that is orbital branches, frontopolar, pericallosal, callosomarginal and parietal. These branches supply the medial frontal gyrus and paracentral lobule. Now occlusion causes contralateral motor and sensory loss below the knee area because it supplies the medial surface of the paracentral lobule. So there anterior part of the paracentral lobule is the motor area below knee, and as well as defecation and micturition, sense of defecation and micturition. So functional area supplied by anterior cerebral artery in the frontal lobe, it involves the motor area, that is the anterior part of the paracentral lobule, and it also concerned with the sense of defecation and micturition. In the parietal lobe, we have the same area but posterior part with the sensory modalities. Now the middle cerebral artery. Middle cerebral artery arises from the it's a direct continuation of the internal carotid artery. It enters into the stem of the lateral sulcus, and when it reaches the infralateral surface, it crosses that border and enters into the supralateral surface. It passes along the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So it passes along the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. The picture shows the cortical branches of the middle cerebral artery. The anteriormost is the orbitofrontal, which goes to the frontal lobe, and there is pre-Rolandic artery, which main branch lies in the precentral sulcus. There is Rolandic branch which lies in the central sulcus, and there are posterior to that there is anterior and posterior parietal branches. On the temporal lobe, we have anterior and posterior temporal branches. So these are the cortical branches of the middle cerebral artery. So middle cerebral artery is the larger terminal branch of the internal carotid artery, considered as the direct continuation of the internal carotid artery. It runs after its emergence, it runs in the stem of the lateral sulcus on the inferior surface. Then it enters the posterior ramus and reaches the posterolateral surface. Central branches we have already seen. The cortical branches we have already seen. The central branches are called lenticulostriate branches. This pierces the anterior perforated substance and then divides into lateral and medial striate branches. So central branches are called lenticulostriate branches, which pierce the anterior perforated substance and then divides into lateral and medial branches. Now the medial striate branches supply the corpus striatum and internal capsule. Lateral striate branches supply the corpus striatum, anterior limb, genu, and posterior limb of the internal capsule. So this lateral striate branches are more important. One of the lateral striate branch is a large branch, and that is called Charcot's artery of cerebral hemorrhage. Occlusion of this artery causes contralateral hemiplegia, motor aphasia. If the dominant hemisphere is affected, it can cause global aphasia also, and also causes facial palsy because it involves anterior limb, posterior limb, genu of the internal capsule. So these are the branches of the middle cerebral artery, the central branches and cortical branches. Cortical branches, we have different branches, that is the orbital branches, then pre-Rolandic, Rolandic, anterior and posterior parietal, anterior and posterior temporal branches in the temporal. So it supply three cortical regions, three lobes: frontal lobe, parietal lobe and temporal lobe. The central branches are called lenticulostriate branches. After piercing the anterior perforated substance, it divides into lateral and medial striate branches. The medial striate branch supply the corpus striatum and internal capsule. Lateral striate branches are more important. It supply the corpus striatum as well as anterior limb, genu and posterior limb of the internal capsule. One of the lateral striate branch is large, and that is called Charcot's artery of cerebral hemorrhage. Occlusion of this artery causes contralateral hemiplegia, motor aphasia. If it is a dominant hemisphere, then it can cause global aphasia because it extends to the supramarginal and angular gyrus. So that also, and posterior part of the temporal lobe. So it involves the Wernicke's area and also causes the facial palsy. So this is about the middle cerebral artery. Now the functional area supplied by middle cerebral artery. In the frontal lobe, it involves the motor cortex and motor speech area, that is Broca's speech area. In the parietal lobe, it involves the sensory cortex, and in the temporal lobe, it involves the auditory cortex. So these are the functional areas affected by the middle cerebral artery involvement. Now the territory of anterior cerebral, middle cerebral, posterior cerebral arteries on the supralateral surface. This is a diagram. You may get question about the diagrammatic representation of the territory of each cerebral artery. So in that case, the three surfaces you have to draw: the supralateral surface, medial surface, and inferior surface. So over the supralateral surface, a small region along the medial margin is supplied by the anterior cerebral artery. Along the inferior part of the temporal lobe as well as the occipital lobe, the posterior cerebral artery is supplying. Rest of the area is supplied by the middle cerebral artery. That is why it involves the sensory as well as motor cortex, the Broca's speech area, the auditory area, Wernicke's area, all will be affected in case of middle cerebral artery involvement. Over the medial surface, the major part is supplied by the anterior cerebral artery. So paracentral lobule comes here, and a small part, very small part over the temporal pole is supplied by the middle cerebral artery, and rest of the area, the sensory cortex, visual cortex, is supplied by the posterior cerebral artery. Now over the inferior surface, the orbital surface, the medial part is supplied by the anterior cerebral artery, the lateral part is supplied by the middle cerebral artery, and the tentorial surface, except in the anterior part, the entire surface is supplied by the posterior cerebral artery. So this is about the blood supply by the middle cerebral artery and all three arteries, and this is the summary of all three cerebral arteries, its affected lobe and the affected functional areas. In anterior cerebral artery, the frontal lobe will be affected, the paracentral lobule, medial surface, parietal lobe also, that is the sensory cortex over the medial surface. Middle cerebral artery, frontal lobe, we have the motor cortex and motor speech area involvement. In parietal lobe, sensory cortex involvement, and in temporal lobe, auditory cortex. Now the posterior cerebral artery, we have the occipital lobe and temporal lobe. The visual and the olfactory areas are affected. So this is in short about the internal carotid artery and its branches, and the different branches, cortical and central branches, and the functional areas involved. Thank you.